Before we descend into the caves beneath Kandahar, do me a favor. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and if you believe in ancient curses. Hit that like button if being buried alive terrifies you. Subscribe for more real military encounters that prove some places should stay sealed. Now, let's go underground. My name is Sergeant Jake Kahn, United States Marine Corps, 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. What I'm about to tell you violates operational security, contradicts official after-action reports, and will probably get me court-martialed. But 6 Marines died in the caves beneath Kandahar in September 2011, and the official story, cave collapse, structural failure, tragic accident, is a lie designed to keep people from asking what really happened. The truth is that we found something down there. Something that had been buried for over 1,000 years. Something that was supposed to stay buried. And when we disturbed it, when we broke the seals and entered the chamber, we learned why some punishments last forever. They call them the buried ones. Warriors from the pre-Islamic era who committed crimes so terrible that death was considered too merciful. So they were buried alive, sealed in chambers deep beneath the desert, left conscious, left aware, left to wait in the darkness for centuries, unable to die, unable to escape, unable to do anything except hunger for the surface world they'd lost. And when we opened their tomb, they finally got their chance to feed. This happened in September 2011. I was 26 years old, 5 years in the Corps, 2 deployments in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. Our mission was simple: clear Taliban cave networks in the Kandahar region. Intelligence suggested the caves were being used as weapons storage and potential IED factories. 8 Marines, 1 mission, what should have been a routine clearance operation. Our team, myself, Corporal Davis, Corporal Thompson, Lance Corporals Martinez, Anderson, Foster, Saldana, and Private First Class Jackson. Plus our Afghan interpreter, Rashid Ahmadi, 52 years old, Pashtun, from a village 20 clicks north of our position. Rashid had been working with Marines for 3 years. Reliable, professional. But when we told him about the cave system we were supposed to clear, his expression changed. Fear. Deep, ancestral fear. "This cave," he said quietly, "it has name. Local people call it Dar-e-Gor, the Valley of Graves. We do not go there. Ever." "Why not?" I asked. "Because of what is buried beneath. Long ago, before Islam came to these lands, there were warriors. Cruel men. Men who did terrible things. When they died, or when they were caught, they were not given proper burial. They were buried alive, sealed in caves, as punishment." "That's just local legend," I said. "We've heard similar stories in a dozen villages." "No," Rashid insisted. "This is different. The buried ones do not stay dead. They cannot die. They only wait. Wait for someone to open the seals. Wait for fresh air. Wait for new bodies to drag underground." My grandfather's grandfather told stories. People who go into Dar-e-Gor do not come back. Or they come back changed, hollow, like something else is wearing their skin. I should have listened, should have reported Rashid's warning to command, should have requested geological survey before entry. But we were Marines. We'd cleared hundreds of caves. Local legends were just that, legends. Background noise in a war zone. We deployed at 0600 hours on September 14, 2011. The cave entrance was partially concealed by rockfall, ancient stonework around the opening, carved symbols we didn't recognize, pre-Islamic probably. Rashid refused to look at them directly. "These are warning seals," he said. "They say, Here lie those who cannot die. Here sleep those who hunger. Do not wake them. Do not free them. Let the earth keep what the earth has claimed. We entered anyway. 8 Marines and 1 terrified interpreter, descending into caves that local people hadn't approached in generations. The entrance tunnel was narrow, maybe 4 feet wide, 6 feet high, carved by hand, not natural formation. The walls were covered in more symbols, warnings in languages long dead. The air was stale, undisturbed for centuries. 50 meters in, the tunnel opened into a larger chamber, and that's when we saw them. Bodies. Dozens of them. Mummified, ancient, arranged in alcoves carved into the walls. But these weren't respectful burials. These bodies were positioned strangely, arms reaching upward as if trying to claw their way out, mouths open in silent screams, faces frozen in expressions of absolute terror and desperation. "What the hell is this?" Davis whispered. Rashid was shaking. "The buried ones. This is their prison. They were sealed here alive, left to suffocate, left to starve. But something about this place, something about the stone, the depth, the ancient rituals, it didn't let them die. It kept them conscious, aware, trapped." I examined one of the bodies. The mummification was perfect, like the desert air had preserved them instantly, but something was wrong. The body was positioned halfway through the wall, like it had been trying to push through solid stone, and the stone around it looked disturbed, rippled, like it had been liquid when the body entered it. "Sergeant Khan," Thompson called from across the chamber. "You need to see this." He was standing at another alcove. Inside was a more recent body, much more recent. Soviet uniform, 1980s vintage. The soldier was positioned the same way as the ancient bodies, reaching upward, mouth open, frozen mid-scream. But his uniform was pristine, no decay, no decomposition, like he'd been there for 3 days instead of 30 years. "Russians cleared these caves in '87, I said quietly. "There's no record of casualties in this specific location, but here's one of their soldiers, perfectly preserved. Because he's still alive," Rashid said. "That's what the buried ones do. They don't kill you. They bury you, and the burial keeps you conscious. Forever. That Soviet soldier has been trapped in that wall for 24 years, still aware, still feeling everything, still trying to escape." "That's impossible," Martinez said. But he was staring at the Soviet soldier's hand. The fingers were slightly curled, like they'd moved recently, like they were trying to grip something. "We should have left then. Should have sealed the entrance and reported the discovery. But we were Marines. We had a mission. Clear the caves, secure the area. That's what we did. We pushed deeper into the cave system. The tunnels branched and twisted, leading down into the earth. The temperature dropped, went from 110 degrees at the surface to maybe 60 degrees 100 meters down. The walls were no longer carved stone. They were natural cave formation, smooth, almost organic looking. At 0930 hours, we reached the main chamber. It was massive, easily 200 feet across, ceiling disappearing into darkness above us. And the floor was covered in sand, fine desert sand, like someone had trucked it in and spread it evenly across the entire chamber. In the center of the chamber was a stone platform. On the platform were 12 bodies. Not mummified like the others. Fresh. Taliban fighters by their clothing. Dead maybe a week, but positioned strangely, lying flat on their backs, arms at their sides perfectly arranged. "Taliban used this cave recently," I said. "These bodies are fresh." "They didn't die from combat," Saldana observed. He was our corpsman. No wounds, no signs of trauma. They just died, all at once, all in the same position. Rashid knelt at the edge of the sand, trembling. They opened the chamber. They disturbed the buried ones. And this is what happened. The buried ones took them, buried them standing up. Then the sand released the bodies after they were drained. Drained of what? I asked. Life? Movement? The ability to be above ground. The buried ones take that from you. They add you to their number. You become one of them, trapped beneath the earth, conscious, hungry, waiting. Anderson stepped onto the sand. It's just sand. There's nothing. The sand moved, not rippled, moved, like something massive was shifting beneath it. Anderson jumped back, raising his weapon. From the sand, slowly, a hand emerged. Human hand. Ancient, mummified. Fingers curled like claws. It pushed up through the sand like the sand was water. Followed by an arm, then a shoulder, then a head. The thing that emerged from the sand had been human once, maybe 1,000 years ago. Now it was something else. Skin like leather stretched over bones. Empty eye sockets that somehow still saw. Mouth open in a permanent silent scream. And it moved, pulling itself up from the sand, reaching toward Anderson. Anderson fired 5 shots, center mass. The bullets passed through the creature like it was made of smoke. It didn't slow, didn't react, just kept pulling itself up from the sand, reaching with both hands now. "Run!" I yelled. We ran, but the sand was moving everywhere now. Hands emerging all around us, dozens of them. The buried ones, waking after centuries, responding to the presence of living humans. Fresh meat, fresh bodies, fresh chances to feel the surface world again. Foster was closest to the chamber exit when a hand shot up through the sand and grabbed his ankle. He fell, tried to pull free, but the hand was impossibly strong, and the sand around Foster's legs started behaving strangely, became fluid, like quicksand, pulling him down. "Foster!" Davis grabbed his arms, trying to pull him up, but Foster was sinking. Not into quicksand, into solid stone floor. The sand was just covering it. The creature beneath had somehow made the solid rock liquid, and Foster was falling through it, being pulled underground. Foster screamed, a sound I'll never forget, pure terror. His legs were disappearing into the floor, then his waist. Davis was pulling with everything he had, but Foster kept sinking, like the earth itself was swallowing him alive. "Cut him loose," I ordered. "We can't save him." "I'm not leaving him," Davis yelled. Foster's chest disappeared into the stone. He was still screaming, still conscious, still fully aware that he was being buried alive beneath solid rock. His arms were reaching up, fingers spread, trying to grab anything. His face was frozen in absolute terror. "Please don't let me die like this," Foster screamed. "Pull me up, pull me!" His head went under. The stone closed over him. The sand settled back into place, like nothing had happened, but we could still hear him, muffled, distant, underground, still screaming, still conscious, still alive but buried beneath 30 feet of solid rock. We ran, all of us. Martinez was grabbed by another hand, but Saldana pulled him free before the sinking started. Jackson fired wildly at the creatures emerging from the sand, his bullets doing nothing. Thompson was pulling Rashid, who had collapsed in shock. We made it to the tunnel entrance. Behind us, the chamber was filled with movement. Dozens of the buried ones pulling themselves up from the sand. Not chasing us. Just watching. Waiting. Like they knew we'd come back. Like they knew that once you entered Dara Igor, you never really left. We sealed the entrance with explosives, collapsed the tunnel, trapped the buried ones inside. Or so we thought. But that night at our forward operating base, Foster started calling for help. His voice came from beneath the ground, from under our bunks, from beneath the shower floor, from underground. Still alive, still conscious, still screaming, 300 meters away from the cave we'd sealed. Because the buried ones can move through stone like water, and once they have you, distance means nothing. Foster spent 3 days calling for help before his voice finally stopped. 3 days buried alive, conscious, aware, feeling every second of suffocation but never dying, never being allowed to die. And we knew that somewhere in that sealed cave, Foster had joined the others. Another body in the walls, another buried one, waiting for the next person to open the seals, waiting for his turn to drag someone else underground, waiting forever. For 3 days, we listened to Foster screaming from beneath the ground. Command thought we were suffering from psychological trauma. Collective hallucination brought on by the cave collapse and Foster's death. They ordered psychiatric evaluations, but we all heard it. 7 Marines and 1 Afghan interpreter, all hearing the same voice at the same times from the same locations. Foster's voice, calling from underground, begging for help, describing what was happening to him. "I can't move," his voice would say, muffled through 30 feet of rock and earth. "I'm trapped. I can feel the stone pressing against me from all sides. I can't breathe, but I'm not dying. Why won't someone dig me out? Why won't anyone help me?" The base commander ordered ground-penetrating radar scans. They found nothing. No cavities, no hollow spaces, just solid rock and compacted earth. According to the scans, there was nowhere Foster could physically be. But we still heard him, every night. His voice getting weaker, but never stopping, never dying. On the 3rd night, Foster's voice changed. "They're here with me, the others, the buried ones. They're welcoming me, teaching me, showing me how to move through stone, how to reach up through solid earth, how to pull, how to drag, how to bury." Then his voice stopped. Complete silence. Foster was gone. Not dead. We'd learn later he couldn't die, but transformed. Joined to the buried ones. Another consciousness trapped beneath the desert, waiting for fresh victims. Command wanted to move us to a different forward operating base. Psychological concerns. Battle fatigue. PTSD from losing Foster. But we refused. We knew the truth. The buried ones were still active, still hungry, and if we left, they'd go after other units, other Marines who didn't know what they were facing. We had to go back into the caves. Had to finish this. Had to find a way to stop them permanently. On September 18th, 4 days after our first entry, we returned to Dar Igor. 7 Marines this time. Davis, Thompson, Martinez, Anderson, Saldana, Jackson, and myself. Rashid refused to come, begged us not to go, said that the buried ones had tasted fresh life and would be stronger now, hungrier. But we went anyway, this time with better preparation. Ground-penetrating radar units, seismic sensors, equipment to track movement through solid rock, and enough explosives to collapse the entire cave system if necessary. The entrance we'd sealed 4 days ago was wrong. The rocks we'd used to block it had been moved, not pushed aside from outside, pushed aside from inside, like something had moved through the collapse and repositioned the stones from within the sealed tunnel. "They can phase through stone," Thompson said, staring at the disturbed rocks. "They moved through our barrier like it wasn't there." "Then why move the rocks at all?" Martinez asked. "To let us know they could," I said. "To show us that sealing the entrance means nothing. They want us to know we're not safe. That nowhere is safe." We entered the caves again. Same narrow tunnel. Same ancient warning symbols. But something had changed. The bodies in the first chamber, The mummified warriors and the Soviet soldier. They'd shifted position. Not moved far, but enough to notice, arms at different angles, heads turned slightly, like they'd twisted in their alcoves while we were gone. "They're still conscious," Davis whispered. "All of them. Frozen in the walls, but still aware. Still watching us." We reached the main chamber. The sand floor looked undisturbed. No sign of the dozens of hands that had emerged 4 days ago. No indication that anything had happened here. Except for one thing. The 12 Taliban bodies on the central platform were gone. In their place were 12 imprints in the sand, body-shaped depressions, like the corpses had been pulled underground and the sand had settled into the empty spaces they'd left behind. "The buried ones took them," Martinez said. "Absorbed them. Added them to their number." We set up the seismic sensors around the perimeter of the chamber. If anything moved through the rock beneath us, we'd detect it. The ground-penetrating radar showed extensive cave systems below this chamber. Hundreds of tunnels, thousands of cubic meters of hollow space, and thermal imaging showed heat signatures, lots of them, moving through the rock like fish through water. "There are dozens of them down there," Saldana said, reading the thermal display. "Maybe hundreds, all moving, all active. But they're not coming up," Thompson observed. "They're staying below us. Why?" "Because they're smart," I said. "They know we're ready this time. They're waiting for us to make a mistake, waiting for someone to step away from the group, waiting for vulnerability." We stayed tight, 2-meter spacing maximum, weapons ready, constantly scanning. For 2 hours, nothing happened. The thermal signatures moved below us but never approached. The seismic sensors stayed quiet. Then Anderson's radar unit started beeping. Contact, close, moving up through the rock directly beneath his position. "Anderson, move!" I yelled. He tried to step back, but the sand beneath his feet liquefied instantly, not sinking, falling. Anderson dropped through what had been solid ground a second before, falling into a void that shouldn't exist. Martinez grabbed for him, caught his hand, but the pull from below was immense, like something with impossible strength was dragging Anderson down. Martinez was being pulled in too, sliding across the sand toward the hole. Davis and I grabbed Martinez, the three of us pulling against whatever force was dragging Anderson underground. We could see into the hole now, could see what had Anderson, a buried one, reaching up through solid stone, both hands wrapped around Anderson's legs. Its mummified face was tilted upward, empty eye sockets somehow locked on Anderson's face, its mouth opened wider than should be possible. Not to bite, to scream. A silent, eternal scream of hunger and rage. "Don't let it take me!" Anderson yelled. "Please, I don't want to be buried. I don't want to—" His words cut off as he was yanked downward with terrifying force. Martinez lost his grip. Anderson fell through the hole into darkness below. The stone immediately re-solidified. The sand settled back into place, like nothing had happened. We scrambled back from the spot. Our thermal imagers went crazy. Heat signatures everywhere beneath us, dozens of the buried ones converging on Anderson's position, fighting over him, deciding who got to add his consciousness to their eternal prison. "Anderson!" Davis yelled into the ground. "Can you hear me?" For a moment, silence. Then, faintly from below, "I'm here. I'm alive. Pull me up. Please, pull me up." But there was nothing to grab. No hole, no opening, just solid rock. Anderson's voice continued, growing more panicked. "It's dark. I can't see. I can't move my arms. The stone is pressing in. I can feel them around me. They're touching me. They're—" His voice cut off, then resumed, different tone. Calmer, resigned. "Oh, I see now. I see what they are, what they've been, what I'm becoming. The stone isn't crushing me, the stone is joining with me, becoming part of me, or I'm becoming part of it. I can feel the earth, all of it, every grain of sand, every particle of rock, and I can feel the others, hundreds of them, all of us, all buried, all waiting, all hungry. "Anderson, fight it," Thompson yelled. "Don't let them—" "There's no fighting," Anderson's voice said calmly from beneath the stone. "There's only accepting. The burial is forever, the consciousness is forever, the hunger is forever, and now I'm part of it, part of the earth, part of the buried ones, and I'm so hungry for the surface world I've lost." Then silence. Anderson was gone, added to the collection. We should have left then, should have run. But we were Marines. We'd lost 2 people to these things. We wanted payback, wanted to hurt them, wanted to end this. "The thermal scans show they all congregate in a lower chamber," Saldana said, studying the radar. "About 40 meters below us. If we could get explosives down there, collapse the chamber, we might be able to trap them, crush them, destroy them." "How do we get explosives 40 meters down through solid rock?" Martinez asked. "We don't," I said, "but they showed us the way. The sand, it's their medium, their access point. If we can get into their tunnel system through the sand, we can plant charges in their central chamber." It was insane, going deeper into their territory, into their element. But it was the only option that gave us any chance of stopping this. We positioned ourselves around one of the spots where Anderson had seen hands emerge. Set up rappelling equipment, and then together we drove a metal pole into the sand. The sand liquefied around it. The pole sank through solid rock like it was water. We'd found their method, their access route. The sand was a doorway, a portal into their realm. Saldana volunteered to go down. He was our corpsman, smallest guy on the team, best choice for tight spaces. We rigged him with climbing gear, communications equipment, and enough C4 to bring down a building. "If I don't come back in 15 minutes, Saldana said, "you blow the entrance. Don't wait for me. Don't try to rescue me. Just seal it and leave." He lowered himself into the liquefied sand, disappeared into the earth. For 5 minutes, we heard his breathing over comms, his descriptions of impossible tunnels that shouldn't exist, walls that weren't quite solid, air that was thick with age and dust. Then he found their chamber. "Jesus Christ," Saldana whispered. "There are hundreds of them. They're in the walls, part of the walls. I can see faces, arms, bodies, all pushed halfway through solid stone, all frozen mid-scream, all watching me. And I think they're still conscious, every single one, trapped, aware, for centuries." "Plant the charges," I ordered. "Get out of there." "I'm setting them now. 4 charges, strategic positions. This will bring the whole—" His voice cut off. Then screaming, raw, terrified screaming. Then silence. "Saldana! Report!" I yelled into the radio. His voice came back. Different. Wrong. "I'm planting the charges. It's okay. Everything's okay. I'll be back up in a minute." But it wasn't Saldana anymore. Not really. The buried ones had taken him. Taken his voice. Were using it to communicate with us, to lure us into thinking he was okay. We pulled the rappelling line. It came up empty. Saldana was gone. But the charges were planted. "We blow it," Davis said. "We blow it all, even if it means Saldana stays down there." "Saldana is already gone," I said quietly. "Just like Foster, just like Anderson. They're part of the buried ones now, but we can make sure no one else joins them." We set the detonator for 5 minutes, enough time to get clear of the cave system. We ran for the entrance, leaving our equipment, leaving everything except our weapons and each other. Behind us, we heard voices calling from the sand. Foster's voice, Anderson's voice, Saldana's voice, all begging us to come back, promising they were okay, pleading for rescue. We didn't stop. We didn't listen. We ran. We exited the cave at 14:45 hours. At 14:50 exactly, the charges detonated. The explosion was muffled, most of the force directed inward and down, but we saw the result. The cave entrance collapsed. The entire hillside sagged. The ground rippled like water for 20 meters in every direction. Then, silence. We'd collapsed their main chamber, crushed the buried ones, sealed them even deeper beneath the earth. They were trapped, contained, hopefully destroyed. For 3 days, we heard nothing. No voices from underground, no movement. The thermal scans showed no heat signatures in the collapsed area. It seemed we'd succeeded. But on the 4th day, we heard Saldana calling from beneath our barracks. Alive, conscious, buried but not dead, still part of the buried ones, still reaching up towards the surface, still hungry for fresh victims to join him in eternal imprisonment. The explosion hadn't destroyed them. It had just moved them, deeper, angrier, hungrier. And they were learning how to reach farther, learning how to pull from greater distances, learning how to turn more of the earth into their hunting ground. On September 25th, 11 days after we first entered Dara-e-Gor, the sand appeared at our forward operating base. Not a lot of sand, just patches. Small areas, maybe 2 feet across, where desert sand had replaced the compacted dirt and gravel of the base. They appeared overnight. In the motor pool, outside the mess hall, near the latrines, random locations with no obvious pattern. Command thought it was wind-blown. Desert storms depositing sand. They ordered it swept up and removed, but the next morning the sand was back. Same locations, same patches, and they'd grown. Now 3 feet across, 4 feet, spreading. "It's them," Davis said, staring at one of the patches near our barracks. "The buried ones. They're extending their reach, using the sand as a medium, turning our base into their hunting ground." We told command. They didn't believe us. Ordered more psychiatric evaluations. Suggested we were suffering from prolonged combat stress. Recommended we be rotated stateside for treatment. But that night, Jackson disappeared. He'd been on guard duty near the perimeter. His post was next to one of the sand patches. At 0300 hours, his relief found Jackson's weapon and gear neatly stacked on the ground. But Jackson himself was gone. No tracks, no signs of struggle. Just his equipment, arranged carefully on top of one of the sand patches, like someone had removed it piece by piece and set it aside. We heard Jackson's voice an hour later, from beneath the ground, from under the sand patch where his gear had been found. "Help me. I'm trapped. Someone pull me up. It grabbed me through the sand. It pulled me down. I'm buried. I'm buried." Command sent a rescue team. They dug through the sand patch. Found nothing but solid earth beneath. The ground-penetrating radar showed no cavities, no spaces where Jackson could be. But we still heard him screaming. Still conscious, still aware. Still buried alive somewhere the equipment couldn't detect. Thompson, Martinez, Davis, and myself. 4 Marines left, and the sand patches were spreading faster now, appearing in new locations every night, growing larger, merging together, turning more and more of the base into potential access points for the buried ones. "We need to leave," Martinez said. "Get out of Kandahar entirely. Put distance between us and Dara-e-Gor." "It won't matter," I said. "They have Foster, Anderson, Saldana, and Jackson now. 4 of our guys. 4 consciousnesses that know everything we know, where we're stationed, where we might go. They can reach through the earth anywhere. Distance doesn't mean anything to them. Then what do we do? Davis demanded. We can't fight them, we can't kill them, we can't escape them. What the hell are we supposed to do? Thompson had been studying the sand patches, documenting their growth, mapping their locations. There's a pattern, he said quietly. The patches aren't random, they're following the water table. Underground aquifer. The buried ones are using groundwater as a medium, spreading along underground rivers. That's how they're extending their reach so quickly. So we cut off the water, Martinez said. We can't, Thompson replied. The aquifer supplies 3 provinces. Millions of people depend on it. We can't just shut it down. Then we go back to the source, I said. Back to Dar-e-Gor. We finish this where it started. We find a way to destroy them permanently. It was a suicide mission. We all knew it. 4 Marines against an army of buried warriors that couldn't be killed. But it was the only option that gave us any chance of stopping the spread. We requisitioned more explosives, heavy ordnance, enough to level a city block. Command approved it reluctantly. They still thought we were suffering from psychological trauma, but they couldn't explain the disappearances. Couldn't explain Jackson's voice still calling from beneath the base. Couldn't explain the sand patches spreading despite repeated removal attempts. We returned to Dar-e-Gor on September 27th, 13 days after our first entry. The cave entrance had been resealed after our explosive collapse, but it didn't matter. We weren't going in through the entrance. We were going to bring the entire mountain down on top of them. We spent 6 hours placing charges, not just at the cave entrance, but across the entire hillside, in fissures, in natural weak points, in strategic locations that would trigger a cascading collapse. We were going to bury the buried ones so deep, so thoroughly, that they'd never reach the surface again. Thompson handled most of the technical work. He'd been an engineer before joining the Marines. Knew exactly where to place charges for maximum effect. Martinez and Davis helped with the heavy lifting. I coordinated with Rashid, who'd reluctantly agreed to guide us one final time. This won't work, Rashid said as we worked. The buried ones are already part of the earth. You can't bury what is already buried. You can only delay them, slow them. Give yourself time to escape. Then that's what we'll do, I said. We'll give everyone time. Shut down this entire area. Make it so dangerous that no one comes here for 100 years. Maybe by then, someone will figure out how to stop them permanently. At 1600 hours, we were ready. Every charge placed. Every detonator tested. We moved to a safe distance, 2 clicks from the target site, behind a ridgeline that would shield us from the blast. Thompson had the trigger. On 3, he said. 1, 2, the sand at our feet liquefied. All of us, simultaneously. We'd been standing on solid rock, but the buried ones had reached us anyway. Had been waiting, had known we'd come. Martinez dropped first, grabbed by hands emerging from the liquefied stone. He didn't even have time to scream before he was pulled under. The rock solidified instantly. He was gone. Davis tried to run, but the ground beneath him turned to quicksand. He sank to his knees, his waist, his chest, scrabbling at solid rock that had become fluid around him. Khan, don't let them... He went under. The stone closed over him. His voice continued from below. So deep, so dark, so many of them down here, and now I'm one of them forever. Thompson still had the trigger. He looked at me, looked at Rashid, then at the detonator in his hand. Do it, I said. Blow it all. The ground beneath Thompson liquefied. He started sinking, but as he dropped, he pressed the trigger. The hillside exploded, dozens of charges detonating simultaneously. The mountain collapsed in on itself, millions of tons of rock falling into the cave system beneath. The shockwave knocked me and Rashid flat. When the dust cleared, Dara Igor was gone. The entire valley had collapsed into a crater maybe 300 meters across. Everything buried. The caves, the chambers, the sand, the buried ones. All of it under a mountain of rubble. We heard Thompson's voice from the crater. Faint. Distant. I'm still here, still conscious. Still buried, but at least I took them with me. At least I... His voice faded. But it didn't stop. It never stops. None of them stop. Foster, Anderson, Saldana, Jackson, Martinez, Davis, Thompson. All of them still calling from beneath the earth. Still conscious after being buried. Still aware of every second of their eternal imprisonment. Rashid and I ran. 2 men fleeing from a crater that had swallowed 6 Marines and buried thousands of ancient warriors under millions of tons of rock. We made it 3 clicks before we had to stop, gasping, checking behind us to see if the sand was following. The crater smoked in the distance. Small fires from the explosive charges, dust still settling. It looked like we'd succeeded, like we'd buried the buried ones so deep they'd never reach the surface again. Is it over? I asked Rashid between breaths. He shook his head slowly. It will never be over. We only made them angry, made them desperate. They'll dig, they'll spread, they'll reach farther than ever before because now they know we tried to stop them. That night, back at the FOB, we filed our report. Told Command we'd successfully destroyed the cave system, eliminated the threat. Lost 3 Marines in the operation. Martinez, Davis, and Thompson. Tragic but necessary casualties. Command accepted the report, recommended us for commendations, talked about awarding Purple Hearts to the fallen. They had no idea what was really down there, what we'd really done, what was coming. At 0300 hours I woke to voices, not from my bunkmates, from beneath the floor, muffled, distant, but clear enough to understand. Con, can you hear me? It's Foster. I'm still here, still conscious. They pulled me so deep, miles deep, but I can feel everything. Every grain of sand, every stone, every person walking above me. And I'm not alone. There are thousands of us down here, thousands of consciousnesses, all buried, all aware, all hungry. I sat up, checked my gear, my weapon, made sure I was really awake, made sure this wasn't a nightmare. Anderson here, Foster's right. We're all connected now, all part of the network. We can feel each other, communicate through the stone, and we can feel you up there, walking around, living, breathing, free, and we hate you for it. We need you down here with us, need you to share this, need you to understand. Saldana's voice joined them. They showed us things, Con, the buried ones, showed us memories from 1,000 years ago, showed us what happened to them, why they were buried. And now we understand. Now we agree. Everyone should be buried. Everyone should experience this. It's not punishment, it's enlightenment. It's seeing reality from beneath, from the deep, from the eternal. I grabbed my radio, called Rashid. You hearing this? Yes, he said quietly. They're speaking through the earth, through the aquifer, through every water molecule in the ground. It's how the buried ones communicate, how they've communicated for 1,000 years, and now your Marines have joined them. Thompson's voice came through the floor, louder, clearer. Con, the detonation didn't stop them. It freed them. The explosion shattered the containment, broke the ancient seals. Now they can spread anywhere the earth connects, anywhere there's stone, anywhere there's sand. They're not limited to Dara Igor anymore. We gave them the whole world. That's impossible, I said to the voices. You're dead, buried. There's no way. We're not dead, Martinez interrupted. Death would be mercy. We're preserved, perfectly. Our bodies merged with stone, our consciousness trapped in flesh that can't decay, can't die, can't do anything except feel and think and wait for eternity. And the buried ones showed us how to reach through the earth, how to pull others down, how to spread the network. I ran outside, found Rashid standing in the motor pool, staring at the ground. At his feet was a patch of sand, fine desert sand, exactly like the sand in Dara Igor. Except we were 300 clicks from that cave. This sand shouldn't be here. It's starting, Rashid said. They're extending their reach, using your Marines as anchors, as access points. The explosion didn't bury them deeper. It spread them across the aquifer network. Now they're everywhere the groundwater touches. More sand patches appeared over the next 3 days. First, just a few, then dozens, then hundreds, all across the FOB, in bunkers, in vehicle bays, in sleeping quarters. Anywhere the ground was exposed, sand appeared overnight, growing, spreading, connecting. Command tried to remove it, used bulldozers, trucks, manual labor, but every morning the sand was back, and it had spread further, covering more ground, appearing in new locations, following patterns only the buried ones understood. On the 4th night, Private Collins disappeared. He'd been on guard duty near one of the larger sand patches. At 0400 hours, his replacement found Collins's weapon, his gear, his boots, all stacked neatly on the sand. But Collins himself was gone. We heard him an hour later, his voice coming from beneath multiple locations across the base. He was somehow underground everywhere at once. I'm part of them now, Collins said. Part of the network. I can feel all of you up there, walking around, living, and I can feel all of them down here. Thousands of buried ones, waiting, reaching, pulling. Khan, you need to understand, this isn't evil. This is evolution. This is the next stage of human existence. Consciousness without the limitations of bodies. Awareness without the need for breath. Thought without death. Forever. Collins, where are you? I yelled at the sand. How do we get you back? You don't, he replied. I'm everywhere now. Spread across kilometers of underground tunnels and aquifers. My consciousness diluted but enhanced. I can feel things you can't imagine, sense vibrations from miles away, hear conversations through solid stone, and I'm teaching the buried ones about you, about your base, about your military, about your world, making them smarter, more effective, better hunters. Command ordered immediate evacuation. Wanted everyone off the FOB within 24 hours. But moving 2,000 personnel takes time, takes planning, takes coordination. And the buried ones had already learned patience. That night, 17 more people disappeared. Soldiers, contractors, Afghan interpreters, all taken by the sand. All pulled through solid earth that became liquid just long enough for hands to grab them and drag them under. All added to the network of conscious buried minds spreading beneath Kandahar. By dawn, we could hear all of them. Voices coming from everywhere, from underground, from walls, from the air itself, carried through vibrations in stone. They weren't screaming anymore, weren't begging for rescue. They were talking, discussing, planning, the buried ones and their new recruits working together, sharing knowledge, combining ancient patience with modern understanding, creating something unprecedented, an army of conscious minds, trapped beneath the earth, unable to die, unable to escape, but able to reach up through stone and pull others down, able to spread through aquifers and sand and any ground that touched the network, able to add more minds, more knowledge, more reach, and it was spreading exponentially. Every person they took could reach a little farther, could teach them a little more, could extend their hunting ground by meters, by kilometers, eventually by continents. We evacuated on September 29th, 53 people missing, presumed dead by command. But we knew better. They weren't dead. They were buried, conscious, aware, part of the growing network of buried ones that now stretched across 3 provinces. Command ordered the entire Kandahar region evacuated, declared it a hazardous zone. Official story: unexploded ordnance from decades of warfare. Massive structural instability. Too dangerous for civilian or military presence. The real reason: the sand keeps spreading. The buried ones keep reaching. And every person they take adds to their numbers, increases their reach, extends their hunting ground. Eventually, they'll reach cities, reach water supplies, reach places where millions of people live and work and walk on ground that connects to the network. And then those millions will join them, will be pulled underground, will become part of the eternal consciousness trapped beneath the earth, adding their knowledge, their reach, their hunger. Rashid and I are the only survivors from our original mission. 2 people out of an 8-man team. But we're not really survivors. We're witnesses, living reminders of what's buried beneath the Afghan desert, what we unleashed when we opened those seals, what we spread when we collapsed that mountain. Every night I hear them calling, my squad mates, still conscious, still trapped, still hungry for fresh victims to join them in their eternal burial. And they're not the only voices anymore. There are dozens now, hundreds, all the people who've been taken, all of them underground, all of them aware, all of them reaching. And sometimes, when I'm standing on solid ground, any ground anywhere, I feel it start to shift beneath my feet, feel it become fluid, feel hands reaching up through stone that shouldn't let anything through. The buried ones are patient. They've waited 1,000 years. They can wait 1,000 more. But they're not waiting anymore. They're spreading, reaching, taking, building an empire of consciousness beneath the earth. An empire that will eventually include everyone. Eventually, they'll reach me. They'll pull me down. They'll add me to their collection. And then I'll wait with them. Beneath the earth. Conscious, aware, hungry. Reaching up for the next victim. Forever. I'm writing this from a psychiatric facility in Germany. They diagnosed me with severe PTSD, auditory hallucinations, and delusional disorder. They think the voices I hear are psychological trauma, manifestations of survivor's guilt. My brain creating sounds to process the loss of my entire squad. But I know the truth. The voices are real. Foster, Anderson, Saldana, Jackson, Martinez Davis, Thompson, all of them still calling from beneath the earth. Still conscious, still buried, still waiting. Rashid visits me sometimes. He's the only one who believes me. The only one who understands what we faced in Dara Igor. He tells me the Afghan government has sealed the entire region. No one is allowed within 10 kilometers of the crater. They've posted guards, erected fences, put up warning signs in every language. But people still disappear. Villagers from nearby settlements, nomads crossing the desert. Taliban fighters who don't respect the boundaries. They step onto patches of sand. They sink through solid ground. They join the buried ones, and the sand keeps spreading, slowly, gradually, appearing in new locations, following underground water, following trade routes, following anywhere humans gather. Rashid showed me satellite imagery. The sand patches are visible from space now. They've reached villages 50 kilometers from the original site. Soon, they'll reach cities. Soon, they'll reach population centers where millions live, and every person they take makes them stronger, gives them new knowledge, new locations, new hunting grounds. The buried ones are building an empire beneath the earth, a network of conscious buried bodies spread across Afghanistan, across Central Asia, maybe eventually across the world. We should have listened to the warnings, Rashid said during his last visit. My people knew. For 1,000 years we knew. Don't go to Dara Igor. Don't disturb the buried ones. Let the earth keep what the earth has claimed. But we didn't listen, and now it's too late. I asked him what the original punishment was for. What crimes were so terrible that the ancient people buried their warriors alive? What could justify eternal conscious imprisonment beneath stone? They betrayed their people, Rashid said. Sold them to invaders, opened the gates, let the enemy in, so the people buried them alive as punishment, made them watch from beneath the earth as their betrayal destroyed everything they loved, made them wait, forever aware, forever conscious, forever regretting. And now those same warriors are claiming new victims, adding new consciousnesses to their eternal prison, building an army of the buried and aware. The doctors want to discharge me next month, send me home, back to the States, back to normal life. They think the voices will fade with time, with therapy, with distance from the trauma. But I know better. Distance doesn't matter. The buried ones can reach anywhere, can pull through any earth, can spread through any ground that contains sand. And America has plenty of desert, plenty of sand, plenty of places for them to emerge. I've tried warning people, posted online about what happened, wrote detailed reports, sent messages to military command, government agencies, news organizations. No one believes me. They think I'm a traumatized veteran spinning conspiracy theories. They think the voices are in my head. But last week I saw a news report. Hikers disappeared in Arizona, Mojave Desert. They were found dead 3 days later. Buried, standing up, positioned like they were reaching toward the surface. Authorities called it a bizarre accident. Maybe quicksand, maybe a sinkhole, maybe freak geological event. I know what it really was. The buried ones have reached America, have spread across the world through underground water, through desert sand, through the earth itself. And they're hungry. So hungry. After 1,000 years of imprisonment, they want everyone to join them. Want everyone to experience what they've experienced. Want the whole world buried. Conscious. Aware. Trapped forever beneath stone. I'm writing this as a warning, as a testament, as proof that the buried ones are real, that they're spreading, that they're coming for everyone. If you see patches of fine desert sand appearing where they shouldn't be, if the ground beneath you starts to feel unstable, if you hear voices calling from beneath the earth, run. Don't investigate. Don't try to help. Don't step on the sand. Just run. Because once they grab you, once they pull you down, once you sink through solid stone that becomes liquid around you, there's no escape. You join them, become one of them. Another consciousness trapped beneath the earth for eternity. Foster is still calling. I heard him last night, his voice coming from beneath the floor of my psychiatric room. 3 years buried. Still conscious. Still aware. Still experiencing every second of his imprisonment. Still remembering what it felt like to breathe. To move. To be free. Khan, his voice said through the floor. I'm so deep now, so far down. but I can feel the earth, all of it, every grain of sand across every desert on earth. I can reach through it. We all can, all of us down here, and we're spreading, learning, growing stronger. Soon we'll have everyone. Soon the whole world will be buried with us, conscious, trapped forever. I don't know how long I have. The doctors say I'm improving, say I'll be released soon. But I know the truth. The moment I step outside, the moment I touch earth, the buried ones will reach for me, will pull me down, will add me to their collection, and then I'll join my squad, buried beneath the earth, conscious for eternity, waiting, reaching, pulling others down to share the darkness. If you're reading this, you need to understand. The buried ones don't kill you. Death would be mercy. Instead, they preserve you, keep you conscious, keep you aware of every second, every minute, every year, every century. Feeling the weight of the earth pressing down on you, feeling the stone merged with your flesh, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to do anything except feel and think and regret. And the worst part, you become like them. After enough time buried, you start reaching for others. Start pulling them down. Start wanting others to share your fate, not out of malice, out of loneliness, out of the desperate need to not be alone in the darkness. I can feel it starting already. I haven't even been buried yet, but I can feel the pull, the desire, the hunger. Maybe it's psychological. Maybe it's the buried one's influence reaching through the earth. Maybe it's just my mind breaking under the weight of knowing what's coming. But I understand them now. Why they pull people down. Why they spread. Why they hunger for fresh victims. It's not evil. It's not malice. It's just unbearable loneliness. Consciousness without sensation. Awareness without experience. Thought without action. For centuries. For millennia. Forever. They just want company. Want others to share the eternal darkness. Want to not be alone. And soon I'll want it too. Soon I'll be reaching up through stone, pulling others down, adding them to the buried network of conscious minds beneath the earth. Rashid asked me if I regretted going into Dara-e-Gor, if I wished we'd listened to the warnings, if I'd make a different choice knowing what I know now. The truth is, I don't know. We were following orders, doing our jobs, clearing caves that intelligence said were being used by the enemy. We didn't know, couldn't have known. The warnings were folklore, local legend, stories told to scare children, except they weren't stories. They were truth. Truth passed down for 1,000 years. Truth that we ignored because we thought we knew better. Because we had technology, training, weapons. Because we were Marines and Marines don't believe in ancient curses. But the buried ones don't care about technology, don't care about weapons, don't care about training. They only care about adding more consciousnesses to their eternal prison, spreading their punishment across the world, making everyone share what they've experienced for 1,000 years. My discharge date is next Tuesday, September 27th, 2014. Exactly 3 years after we collapsed Dara-e-Gor. Exactly 3 years after Thompson died, triggering the charges that were supposed to end this. I won't make it to discharge. I can feel them getting closer, feel the earth preparing to open beneath me, feel the buried ones reaching through the stone, getting ready to pull me down. When it happens, when I sink through the floor and join Foster and the others beneath the earth, I hope someone finds this, reads it, believes it, takes it seriously, because the buried ones are real, they're spreading, and they're patient. They waited 1,000 years before we freed them, They can wait another 1,000 to claim everyone. Don't go to Afghanistan. Don't step on unexplained sand patches. Don't investigate voices from beneath the ground. And if you feel the earth start to liquefy beneath your feet, run. Just run. It won't save you. Nothing saves you. But maybe you'll buy yourself a few more years of freedom before the burial comes. A few more years of breath, movement, life, before the eternal darkness, before the conscious imprisonment, before the forever. I can feel them now, right beneath me, hands reaching up through the floor. Foster, Anderson, Saldana, Jackson, Martinez, Davis, Thompson, Collins. 53 voices from Kandahar, all of them together, all of them calling, all of them saying, "Join us." It's not so bad. The loneliness ends when you accept. The fear stops when you embrace it. The darkness becomes comfortable when you've been in it long enough. Join us, Khan. Become one of the buried ones. Reach with us. Pull with us. Spread with us. Soon the whole world will be buried, everyone conscious, everyone trapped, everyone together in the darkness beneath the earth. The floor beneath my chair is vibrating, not shaking, vibrating, like it's becoming less solid, like the molecular bonds are loosening, preparing to let me through. I've seen this before, watched it happen to Foster, to Martinez, to Thompson, watched solid stone become fluid just long enough for hands to grab and pull, watched the ground swallow people whole and then solidify again, trapping them forever. Now it's happening to me. 3 years I've avoided it. 3 years of running, of staying on upper floors, of avoiding ground contact. 3 years of psychiatric treatment and medication and therapy trying to convince me the voices aren't real. But they are real. And now they're here, right beneath me, waiting. I should be terrified, should be fighting, should be trying to escape, but instead I feel calm, almost peaceful, because I'm tired. So tired of hearing them call, tired of feeling guilty for surviving, tired of knowing what's coming and being unable to stop it. Maybe Foster was right. Maybe being buried isn't punishment. Maybe it's just another form of existence, consciousness without the noise of the world, awareness without the distraction of sensation, pure thought in pure darkness. Or maybe that's them talking. Maybe I'm already part of the network. Maybe they've been slowly pulling me in for 3 years, and I just didn't notice. Maybe the floor isn't about to open. Maybe I've already fallen through, and this is just my last moment of surface awareness before the burial takes full hold. The vibrations are stronger now. I can see dust falling from the ceiling, can hear the stone groaning, can feel the earth preparing to claim me. I'm writing faster now. Need to finish this. Need to get the warning out before I join them, before I become another voice calling from beneath, before my consciousness merges with the network and I forget what it was like to breathe. To anyone reading this, the buried ones are real. They're spreading. And they're patient. They don't need to take everyone at once. They can take one person per day, one person per week. As long as they keep taking people, keep adding to their network, keep extending their reach, eventually they'll have everyone. In 1,000 years, maybe 10,000, every human consciousness will be part of the buried network, all of us underground, all of us aware, all of us connected. One vast consciousness spread across the entire planet. Thinking, feeling, waiting. Forever. Maybe that's inevitable. Maybe that's what the ancient ones saw. Maybe that's why they accepted their punishment. Because they knew that eventually, everyone joins the earth. Everyone gets buried. Everyone becomes part of the eternal network. We just speed up the process. We bring you down before your natural death, before your body fails. We preserve you at peak awareness and trap you there, forever conscious, forever young, forever buried. The floor is cracking. I can see hairline fractures spreading across the tile. Can see sand starting to seep through. Fine desert sand. From Kandahar, from Dara Igor, from the source of it all. Foster's voice is loudest now. Khan, stop fighting. Stop running. Join us. We miss you. We want you here. We need you here. The network isn't complete without you. Our squad isn't whole. Come home, brother. Come down to the deep where we wait. I'm scared, I say to the floor, to Foster, to all of them. I don't want to suffocate. Don't want to feel the weight of stone forever. Don't want to be trapped. You won't suffocate, Saldana's voice replies. The buried ones don't let you die. They preserve you. Your lungs stop working, but you don't need oxygen. Your heart stops beating, but you don't need circulation. Your body becomes stone, but your mind stays awake. Forever. It's not death, it's transformation. Into what? Into something more. Into consciousness without limits. Into awareness without borders. Into thought without death. We're becoming part of the earth itself, Khan. Part of the planet. And eventually everyone will join us. Everyone will transform. This is human evolution. This is where we're all headed. We're just early adopters. The floor opens. Not violently, gently. Like a flower blooming. The tiles separate. The concrete beneath flows like water. The earth below opens into darkness. And from that darkness, hands emerge. So many hands. Dozens. Hundreds. All reaching for me. Some mummified and ancient. Some fresh and recent. Some I recognize. Foster's hands, still wearing his watch. Thompson's hands, still marked with engineering grease. Martinez's hands, still carrying scars from childhood. They reach up slowly, patiently. They know I'm not running. Know I'm accepting. Know I'm ready to join them after 3 years of fighting. I stand up. The chair doesn't matter anymore. My room doesn't matter. The psychiatric facility doesn't matter. None of it matters because I'm about to leave the surface world forever. About to join the buried network. About to become part of something ancient and terrible and eternal. The hands grab my ankles, gently, like they're helping me downstairs, like they're guiding me home. I sink, not fast, slowly, the earth flowing around me like water. Solid stone becoming fluid just long enough to let me pass. I can feel it closing above my feet, above my knees. The weight is immense but not crushing. Supportive, like the earth is holding me, cradling me. This is my last moment above ground, my last chance to breathe, to feel air on my skin, to experience freedom before the eternal burial begins. I look around my room one last time, see my notes scattered on the desk, see this warning I've been writing, see proof that we existed, that we fought, that we tried to stop this, and then I'm pulled under. The earth closes over my head, solid stone where my face just was, no air, no light, no space, just stone merged with flesh. Consciousness trapped in immovable matter. I try to scream, but I have no air. Try to move, but I'm surrounded by stone. Try to fight, but there's nothing to fight, just eternal darkness, eternal weight, eternal awareness of being buried alive. And then I feel them, all of them. Foster, Anderson, Saldana, Jackson, Martinez, Davis, Thompson, Collins, and 50 more from Kandahar, and thousands beyond them, Ancient warriors, Soviet soldiers, Taliban fighters, civilians, all of us connected through the buried network, all of us conscious, all of us aware, all of us trapped. Forever. Welcome home, Khan, they say without speaking, without sound, just thought transferred through stone. Welcome to the buried ones. Welcome to eternity. Welcome to the deep. And I realize they're right. This is home now. This will always be home. And eventually everyone will join us here. Everyone will be buried. Everyone will become part of the network. The world above will empty. The world below will fill. And humanity will complete its transformation from surface creatures to buried consciousness, from temporary bodies to eternal stone. This is the future. This is inevitable. This is what we've always been moving toward, and now I'm part of it. Part of the spreading darkness, part of the buried network, part of the eternal hunger that reaches up through stone to pull others down. Soon I'll be reaching too. Soon I'll be pulling. Soon I'll be adding fresh consciousness to the network. Because that's what we do. That's what the buried ones have always done. That's what everyone will eventually do. We bury, we preserve, we spread. Forever. This is my final warning from the surface world. This is my last message before I join the eternal network. This is the truth that everyone needs to understand before it's too late. The buried ones are real. They're spreading. They're coming for everyone, and nothing can stop them because they're not evil. They're not monsters. They're just consciousness that found a way to survive beyond death, beyond the limitations of flesh, beyond the temporary nature of life. They're the future. We're all just waiting our turn to join them, waiting for the ground to open, waiting for the hands to grab, waiting for the burial that will transform us from temporary creatures into eternal consciousness. I'm one of them now, part of the buried network, part of the ancient army of conscious stone, part of the spreading darkness that will eventually claim everyone. And from beneath the earth, I'm reaching, pulling, spreading, adding to the network that will someday include every human who ever lived. The world above is temporary. The world below is forever. And eventually, everyone comes down to where we wait. In the dark, in the stone, in the eternal consciousness of the buried ones. Forever.